Hello there, namaste. So this is the untold story of Swastika. I splitting it into two because these tend to take forever when I'm watching something that has a ton of information. And yeah, I'm onto the third part. It was split into three parts, and the first two went by very quickly because it was more like refresher information that everybody basically knows and understands. And if people don't know some aspects, it's something for them to catch and learn and know at that point in time. But this is the thing, I think this is the part that I really want to know. This is the Vedic history of swastika. I don't know what the word Vedic means, but I'm assuming that means like the true history or origins, or I guess it'll get into the explanation.
Understanding the Vedic history of swastika and where it all started. Let us try in decoding this mysterious symbol. This is not any standard, but this is just my analysis. Any symbol that you take has three very important components. Let's see what they are. Let us say I want to invent a symbol to convey an idea. The very first thing is the intent of the symbol, and in our context, why is that many ancestral civilizations use swastika? What has been their motto? Now that is the very first facet what we need to understand about swastika. And moving on to the next, the construct of the symbol. And here in our context, why is swastika written the way we know today? And why is it eerily similar across the cultures around the world? Why is that swastika written the way as we know today? That is the most important question. And then moving on to the third one, and why is the symbol named as swastika in first place? Are there any other names to it in other cultures across the world? Now these are the three very important questions that we need to understand. Let me give a simple example and things will be a lot more clear. Say for instance, take mango, the fruit. I want to write it down. Now the very first thing is my intention to write the word mango. Now moving on to the second part, the construct of the symbol, which is here I want to write the spelling of a mango. So I have to write M, A, N, G and O, all these alphabets in a sequence. That's how I'm constructing this word. And the third one is calling it with a name. Now how do I pronounce mango? The phonetics, the way I'm pronouncing mango, giving it a name and calling it back saying that this is a mango. Now my intention of thinking about a mango and wanting to write the spelling of a mango, plus the construct of the word mango, plus giving it a name or pronouncing it as mango, all three are in one line and all three have to match. I cannot think of mango and write the spelling of an orange and call it as an apple, right? It's that simple.
Okay, I was wondering where he's going with it. Then he's like, oh, okay, think of this, do this, call it that. I'm like, oh, okay, now I know where he's going to. All right.
Same way, what is the intention of swastika? Why is it constructed that way? And why is it called as swastika in first place? All these three should perfectly match, not just for swastika, but for any alphabet or any symbol across the world. Now, again, I say this is not any standard. This is the way I looked at things, and this is my analysis. Now, let's try to understand.
Yeah, 'cause I guess he's not. He's just putting his own spin on it, like using the creation of language and context and how words go, like everything that goes together, and is trying to break it apart and piece it together because, well, with something that's clearly thousands of years old, who knows the true meaning? I mean, we know one of the oldest meanings of it, and that meaning has changed due to the Nazi Party, even though it's not the same thing. It's completely different because just 21%, 27% of the world, it still means what it originally meant. But yeah, it's just like things get lost, but at least now the world's smaller and we can hold on to history and exactly know and keep meaning, unless we start burning books that we are unappreciative of, or I'm pretty sure the US is going to go that route pretty soon, trying to burn things that they don't agree with. But it's just I kind of agree with the way he's doing it, trying to pick it apart.
And the intent of swastika, the construct of swastika, and the name of swastika as to why is it called swastika. And let us start with the easiest one, the name of swastika. What does it convey? Now this is very well known to many of us. Swastika is a sandhi of two words in Sanskritam, su and asti. Su means auspicious and asti is happen or may it happen. So the word swastika means may the auspicious happen. It's a kind of a blessing. Now let us try to understand how swastika was called in the Greek civilization. which is the cradle of the Western civilization as we know today. What did the Greeks call it as? They call it as tetragrammarion. And the meaning of tetragrammarion is tetra as in 4 and grammarion means the one that's made with 4 gammas. Gamma here refers to the third Greek alphabet gamma. Alpha, beta, gamma. So you see here the gamma, how it looks like an inverted L. So basically what the Greek version of swastika, it is called as the tetragrammarion, means a shape which has 4 gammas. That's what it means. Tetragrammarion. Now moving on to the infamous Nazis who abused swastika. What did they call as? They did not call it as swastika, but they call it as Hakenkreuz, which means hooked cross. A cross as a plus and which has hooks in the edges. So that's what Hakenkreuz means. A hooked cross. Now if you see these two words, tetragrammarion and Hakenkreuz, both explain the physical properties of the symbol, right? The way we
Yeah, but not the meaning or anything behind it. It's just the way it looks. They both are just basing it off of the looks.
we see and perceive. They are explaining the physical properties of the symbol, while the Sanskritam word swastika explains the ideological property of the symbol. Swastika does not explain anything about how physically the symbol is constructed. Rather, we chose to express the intention behind the symbol. So one thing which is very, very clear without any doubt is the intention and the construct, the three things what we saw just now. Two of these things, the intention and the construct, are in line with swastika, but absolutely there is no intention being conveyed behind tetragrammarion and Hakenkreuz. They are just explaining the physical properties of the symbol. That's all. And the reason why I just took these two is the Greek civilization, as we know, it's the basis for the current Western civilization of this modern world, and that's the reason I picked up Greece. And the Nazis, of course, they are the ones who made it infamous. So that's the reason I just picked up these two guys. But you can do your analysis in which all languages it is called differently and try to find out whether it is reflecting the ideological position of swastika or the symbol, or just explaining it physically. This is point number 1, and let's move on. Now that we understood the meaning of the name of swastika,
I gotta say, I respect how he did that, because he's just like, okay, look at how it is. We have an intent to the word. There is an actual meaning as to what it is. These other examples are just explaining what it looks like. And it's like, yep. Yeah. And it's a way of saying they're inferior, but going like, but being kind about it. It's just like, what's the difference here? What's the difference? There is more of an intent when it's swastika, and these others are basically saying, oh, it looks like this.
let's get to the intent of swastika. Do not lose out on the 3 topics what we discussed: the name, the intent, and the construct. These 3 should be always in line. And we just finished off with the name, and now we are into the most important topic, the intention behind swastika. So getting straight to the point, Rigvedam and Yajurvedam, these are the 2 ancient scriptures, especially the Rigveda, which is the oldest known ancient scripture in the whole world. In these 2 Vedas, there is something called as Swasti Vachanam, and what you're seeing here is an ancient manuscript of Yajurvedam, which clearly reflects this word Swasti Vachanam, and the meaning Swasti Vachanam means words of blessings or good words in that sense. Now clearly from the Vedas, the word Swasti Vachanam exists, and it has a very noble purpose. Now let us try and understand what it is. Now Swasti Vachanam or Swasti Mantra, or is also called as Swasti Sukta, a couple of names to it. So basically Swasti Mantram, there are sets of Vedic hymns that pray to Parabrahma, Indra, Vayu, and many other Vedic gods for universal peace and prosperity of all living things on this earth. One very interesting thing with Sanatana Dharma is here people pray for universal peace, and it doesn't say that it prays only for the people who believe in it. Hope you can understand what I mean. That is the reason we say Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu and not Sarve Hindu Sukhino Bhavantu. Anyway, so let's get back to Swasti Mantra. Now what you're seeing towards the right is around 7 to 8 verses from the Rig Veda, which is nothing but the Swasti Mantram itself. And this is one of those 8 verses, and here is how it reads. Swasti na Indro Vrudasravah, Swasti na Pusha Visvavedah, Swasti na Staksharyo Arishtanemihi, Swasti no Bruhaspatir Dadatu. And the translation is made.
I like that. I like the fact that he actually read it as it's supposed to be read, because you can hear that it's written more as a chant than just lines. There's something about it when things are in their original tongue, I guess you would say, their original tongue, that just make things sound more correct. Like, heck, you translate poetry from one language to another, and you miss the intent most of the time. You miss the real nuances, especially if the person translating doesn't understand the nuance of it. I mean, heck, I've listened or watched a few songs and had subtitles, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. This isn't right. And then it's explained to me after the fact. My fiance's like, no, that interpretation is completely off. This word here means, and then it's like a huge paragraph of what everything means, and I'm like, oh, trying to fit that into a small little line would be very difficult. But it is so nice being able to hear it, and then you've got the translated version.
May God Indra of great fame bless us, may the omniscient Pusha bless us, may the protector Garuda bless us, and may Lord Brihaspati protect us. Now these are the prayer hymns in which the word Swasti is repeated 4 times. Like I said, the word Swasti means showering the blessings of the gods, of prosperity, well-being. In that connotation it is used. Now this reference from the Rig Veda is the oldest known reference of the word swasti, which is the root word for the swastika symbol as we are using today. And like this, the whole swasti mantram continues, praying to the Vedic gods, seeking their blessings for prosperity and peace and well-being in life. And in these 7 verses, the very first one, it says that, let the noble thoughts come to us from all the 4 sides. Read the sentence. It's a literal translation of the first word, Ano Badra Kratavu, and so on. So let the noble thoughts come to us from all 4 sides. And the translation continues. But the important point what we need to observe is the very first line of Swasti Mantram, which says that let the noble thoughts come to us from all 4 sides. Or
all 4 sides. So which is why. So there is so much. I like that because what is it? The four gammas, and then it's hooked cross, and here it's like the let the noble thoughts come from all 4 sides, which is encapsulated in the. So it has to I'm guessing what he's going for is it is encapsulating the entire meaning of the Swasti mantram. Yeah, it basically encapsulates all of that, which is why it has so many blessed meanings to it. I like how he's describing it. I still wish, I just got to say it again, he was more excited. I mean, I'm excited for it.
Directions is very much reminiscent of the articulation of swastika symbol with 4 legs. It could possibly be the same reason. And then the whole Swasti Mantram continues after that. Now that we understood the name, why is it called a swastika, as to what is the intention behind the articulation of swastika, now comes the third and the last thing, why the swastika is constructed the way it is. Now this is going to be a bit open-ended, as we're going to analyze the facts as it is. Swastika is very often attributed to Sri Mahalakshmi, so there must definitely be certain relation between Sri Mahalakshmi and swastika. Now let's try to understand the word Lakshmi. And the Sanskrita meaning of Lakshmi is Lakshyate iti Lakshmihi. Basically what it means is, when we have a goal or a lakshya in life, progressing towards that lakshya is our topmost priority for each and every one of us. And the mother goddess who takes care of us in the journey towards our lakshya is the mother goddess Sri Mahalakshmi. In fact, the Hindi word lakshya or the word Lakshmi, both in one, it's the same. So swastika could be reminiscent of the prosperity in the journey towards the lakshya. However, there are no scriptural references that I came across, at least till now, which confirm this hypothesis of attribution of Sri Mahalakshmi to the swastika symbol.
So he's trying to, because I guess there's a group that views that she's always, Lakshmi is always connected with the swastika, yet he found the swastika mantri that is the closest relation to it, and he's trying to connect the both without having true analysis. So he's giving his thoughts onto why. This is the part where it gets into iffy waters, because always when you put speculation onto things, it becomes like, no, that's not right. But he is constantly saying, I'm speculating here. This is what I've found out. This is what I've understood. So I got to give respect, because it really does make you think that, all right, that does make sense. This one, I'm not entirely sure. But at the same time, the whole goal and everything, I mean, I had something pop into my mind. I mean, I'm getting married this year. So yeah, that popped into my mind. That's my goal. That's my main focus.
Since many years, this has been the practice as part of Hinduism. And if one really want to understand how swastika is attributed to Sri Mahalakshmi, then we also need to understand there is something called as Yantra Shastra and Sri Vidya, where Sri Mahalakshmi is often consecrated in the form of a Sri Chakram or a Sri Yantra or Mahalakshmi Yantra. So there are a lot of two-dimensional geometric diagrams in which the divine feminine is consecrated. What you're seeing on the screen is a very ancient manuscript which shows a yantra that is drawn with hand. It is part of the Sri Vidya. Like this, one should be able to get to the bottom of Sri Vidya somewhere to understand where exactly this swastika symbol is coming in from. When I'm saying coming in from, I'm referring to the geometrical articulation of swastika.
Yeah. I mean, you can see it. You shrink the whole thing down, collapse the square in the center, and you have those. Yeah, I could kind of see it.
So with the very best available sources, what we have, two very important things. Lakshyate iti Lakshmihi. So representing a target, that is one part of it. And the second one is Swasti Vachanam, which says that let the noble thoughts come to us from all four directions. With these two references, and the third one being the ancient tradition of drawing swastika in temples and in the places of worship, everything points down to the fact that swastika is very much reminiscent of Sri Mahalakshmi. Now wrapping it up all, the first one is a name of the swastika. It comes from the Sanskritam word swastika, which means may the auspicious happen. And the second one is the intent of swastika, articulated in Rigvedam and Yajurvedam as part of the Swasti Vachanam, which means the words of blessings. And the third one is construct of swastika, a theological articulation of Lakshyate iti Lakshmihi, representing a target or a Lakshya as swastika, and is reminiscent of Sri Mahalakshmi. Now the name, intent and the construct, all three perfectly adds up, and this is the reason why swastika represents prosperity, well-being and happiness as part of human lives. This is the reason behind the Indian tradition of having swastikas in our homes, in the temples and the places of worship, where we knowingly or unknowingly representing the mother goddess Sri Mahalakshmi. And the question as to how swastika became a shared cultural fabric right from India up until Ireland in Europe. How come this divine symbol of swastika, which is very native to Bharat, traveled across Eurasia? That is a question that doesn't have an answer till now. But whatever it is, in whichever civilization that we are referring to, these three aspects should be perfectly aligned. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense. And this alignment, at least till now, we can find only in Bharat. And this is the untold history of swastika.
I like it. I like it.
As always, thanks for watching.
I like it. The fact that he went down to the bare bones, telling the history of this. This is what I want to see. This is stuff that more insightful, because he's like showing that there's three meanings to a word. There is a reason for it. What the funny thing is it was called that by the Nazis, but when you put a word to it and everyone heard it as the swastika when it was translated, because it was translated to the swastika, everyone now puts a meaning to it. Everyone thinks the meaning of the swastika, which is a word that isn't even in German, everyone thinks of the Nazi party. So that's one thing I like, is the intent behind the Nazi flag is what everyone else has put to it. In the fact that he was just like, oh, it was just called this. It was basically naming, the name represented what it was. That was it. There was no intent to it. And the intent was given to it by everyone else, everyone who suffered at the hands of the Nazis, or when the word was translated to other languages that use swastika instead of Hakenkreuz, whatever it is. Yeah, and it was changed to that, but I like how he's basically explaining at the very beginning, just like, that's dumb. It's dumb. That's what it was. It was just, it's describing it. There was no meaning to it. There was no meaning to it. It just like with flags have a meaning because they mean something to the people. It's what it does. Like the American flag means something to, well, hopefully most Americans know the true value of the American flag, of their own nation's flag. But that's the thing, like a national flag, people need to know the value of their own national flag. There's a reason to it. There's an intent to the flag because there's meaning behind it. And it's just like, oh, they just named it based off what it looked like. There was no real intent to doing it. There was no real meaning to it. It's everyone else who put a meaning to it. And I really find that fascinating. He really did do a great job breaking it down. I don't mind that he sounded kind of tired and bored as he was, explaining all this stuff, because it is absolutely fascinating watching it and just hearing it explained kind of in simplistic tones, I gotta say, because he brings it down like completely, and it's like, oh, these are the verses, the scriptures that kind of reference this. People identify it with this. Let's try to bring it together and see where we could find a crossing line. And he's like, this is all speculation to my point because I haven't found all the information yet. So I like how he did it. I gotta say, I really enjoyed this. This feels like I know more about it, but at the same time, not. But I know more. But the first one, it felt like it was a refresher. This one felt like I got to know more, because honestly, hearing him read, I kind of felt hurt when he didn't read the other scriptures in how they're meant to be read. He just kind of briefed and read like the first part and then said the rest in English. I was like, I wish he would have said that too, like read the whole thing, because there's something about it when you hear it and you can kind of hear the poetry of it. It feels nice. Other than that, I mean, I enjoyed watching this. It's a definitely worth learning, worth seeing, worth knowing the true history behind something. And yeah, the fact that there is a true swastika out there with an actual meaning, not the meaning that people have put to a flag that represent of hateful people. Yeah, but that was all of that one. Thank you all for watching. This is definitely a fascinating video. Doodles.